It's hard to talk about this movie without talking about what came before it. Man of Steel in 2023 was what I actually really liked. I did like it was a good superhero movie. I know a lot of people dislike it because how destructive it is, how all over the place is, and how it doesn't feel like that. Like Zack Snyder's Superman was a Superman of the people. He was more of a god trying to learn how to be a man. I think if you were to give Man of Steel a little bit more credit, it could have been a start to a really good franchise. It could have been a story of a man learning slowly but surely his powers and his responsibility in the universe, because that's what I really do believe Zack Snyder was going for. An emotional conflict of a man who has more power than he should and how he handles that in the world. But because, things that go on, Zack Snyder's personal life, all respects to that man, truly. The Man of Steel, Henry Cavill's Superman, fell to the wayside. His story got all jumbled. And I don't think Batman v Superman or Josh Whedon's Justice League or even Zack Snyder's Justice League even takes the Man of Steel Superman in the direction that story leaves him off. Because at the end of 2020 or 2017, we heard that the Man of Steel sequel wasn't coming in soon. WB immediately started thinking about what their next Superman movie was going to be. The new co-CEO DC, James Gunn, after getting fired over some really weird old tweets, definitely didn't need to be from Marvel. He got picked up to do a couple of DC movies, especially at a time where they were trying to push Black Adam to be their big dude. James Gunn was like, hey, give me a little bit. I'll do the Suicide Squad, see where we go from there. That came out really good. A little bit of a pacing problem for most people, but really solid, really good. And after he got done with Guardians 3, he came back to DC and pretty much was like, hey, yo, let's do this. Let's do a universe. He's the co-chair. He's more of the creative director. He shares the seat with someone else who's handling all the money. But when it comes to creativity, James Gunn is our guy. And he produced the Superman. And I think, honestly, he was the right person to do this. Guardians Galaxy as a series is really well written, really quirky, really fun. But I think at the core of all three of those movies is a very, very human story about family, about finding your place in the world, about coming to terms with yourself, accompanied with really, really strong and emotional music. James Gunn really did strike out with all three of those movies. It's A's all across. So it was natural for him. I think a lot of people were kind of a little like what is he going to do with such a straight and narrow character like Superman? But I think where James Gunn had a lot of fun quirkiness with the Guardians of the Galaxy's character, I think he could write such a strong, straight edge character like Superman in a wacky, crazy world like the DC universe. I think that's why he's such a good hit. I would like to sit here and tell you guys why I think Superman 2025 is one of the best superhero movies to come out in a while. And let's break it down. Real quick, the plot of this story. The plot of this story, real quick. Superman is in the middle of an international incident between Bavaria and Johannesburg. He's interviewing as an independent unit, and this conflict is starting to get the US government a little scared about the implications about metahumans onto the world. Lex Luthor has been working with the government and working by himself to try to neutralize Superman. A big plot point of this story, and I'm going to spoil it a little bit for you guys. I got to spoil it for you guys. That the conflict was the conflict was engineered so Lex can have an excuse to kill Superman. Not Lex is trying to kill Superman because of the situation. Superman is just in the middle of the battle, gets wrecked, gets thrown into the Forest of Solitude. We get to see Krypto. And as Superman is kind of rush healing himself, he gets a sun, a super magnifying lens to magnify the sun's solar rays so they can get injected to his body faster so he can heal at a super fast rate. That was one of the coolest ways to show Superman healing from solar energy. It was such a cool little tidbit. And even after he gets healed, he's like, I'm not at 100%, I'm at 80, I'm about to go back into the fray. That first scene also shows a really big, leaning towards, the writing of this. Superman is written to be a real dorky guy, a real dorky man. But the first little plot point in that original part is like Superman was sent to Earth with a message from his parents. And because of that message, he lives by that message. Hey, we sent you to Earth to do the most good. Because the message is a little corrupted, he just knows that he's supposed to be doing the most good on his planet. He doesn't know what his parents mean by that. Lex Luthor does take the time of this battle to kind of track Superman to the Forest of Solitude. And as Lex Luthor is trying to discover more about Superman so he can destroy him, both Superman, Lois Lane, Jimmy are all trying to figure out this Boravian Drentenberg plot. While Lex Luthor is trying to get Superman caught up into this evasion, this situation so he can like destroy him, our Daily Planet team, Lois, Clark, and Jimmy, they're trying to unwrap the connections so they can stop Lex. And Superman is kind of just superpower way of we're doing this. If anything needs to be figured out outside of like the detective eye, Superman usually is our plot point for that one. Lex does have like a secret metahuman called Ultraman who's working for him. And if that name rings a bell for you, yes, it's kind of a play on that. But the plot is just watching Lex Luthor try to incriminate Superman so he can destroy him. And you get tidbits of like, and the really cool thing about this is it's not like there's just one plot line. There is like this international conflict, but you also start kind of the conflict also kind of starts from like the things that were happening before the plot. One, Lex Luthor has discovered how to travel between universes. That's a really big plot point. And in his story, he uses it to create pocket universes so he can store political enemies, Superman for a time being. And it's really like petty that he also does it to like lock up his ex-girlfriend. This is crazy. There's also a little bit of world building in something called the Justice Gang. We get to see Gardner, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl form this gang of superheroes who are ran by Ted Kord. Not Ted Kord. Ooh, that's someone I wish was around. Man, what is his name? His name is escaping me right now. He's played by James Gunn's brother. And I want to say Maxwell Lord. They are the Justice Gang being run by Maxwell Lord, which is another little tidbit to things that may be going down along the line. But as this movie is setting up, that's how this world building happens. Instead of just giving you a cameo of a random superhero, I'm going to show you a character who's in the middle of an action that's very similar to the things that they were doing in the comics. So you kind of keep in the back of your mind that guy might be a little shifty. That guy might be a little weird. That guy might have some things going on in the background. We might pull on that string later, but it's a really good way of doing world building that Marvel is not very keen on doing. During their initial conflict, while Superman and Lex are meeting for the first time in 3 years, we get a little introduction to Metamorpho. We get a little tidbit to Metamorpho. He gets a little cool cameo. And his son Joey. This is how we get Kryptonite in this universe. It's also a very big plot point that like Kryptonite is not in this universe. Kryptonite is not around. We have to synthetically make it. But long story short, I'm not going to spoil this movie because I want you to go see it yourself. This all culminates with the Daily Planet team, and Superman coming together to taking down Lex Luthor's schemes. Big old, no beam in the sky like other superhero movies, but big old supernatural disaster happens. We get a lot of cool like scenes with Krypto the Superdog. And at the end, we get a nice little tidbit to Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, and that little tidbit leads into our next DC movie. That is a very high level concept of that plot. And honestly, it's a really good plot. So many moving parts, like it feels very lived in. You get hopped into the middle of the conflict, but it also makes you think that, things have been going on for so long and we are kind of just seeing the culmination of that. And it's really cool. And we're going to talk about our characters. I do want to talk a little bit about our characters. And maybe at the end, I'll talk about like the climax and how I liked about it. But the characters are super cool. David Corset plays Clark Kent. He's our Superman, and he's around 25, 27 years old. Very young man, very naive. Not the same himbo energy as like My Adventures of Superman, but you kind of tell that this is just a young dude who's is just trying to do the best. He has this line in the movie saying, "I'm not acting on the behalf of the government or anyone. I'm acting on behalf of me, of all things good." And the little nerdy reporter boy seems to have that same energy in the way that he carries himself as the big pompous superhero, the big burly superhero. Definitely on his other side is Rachel Borshaw's Lois Lane. I think she plays a very competent, very spunky, very strong-willed Lois. She's competent in everything when it comes to reporting, but the big emotional conflict of this film comes from her trying to connect with her fleeing her boyfriend Clark, who's they're not kind of like a thing in this movie. And I like how the conflict kind of plays off of that. She does like this guy. She's met this boy who's just good to the bone. She's about getting the truth out there. But she's met this boy who's really good to the bone, all the way to the point that he risks his life every day to go save people, try his best to make sure no one dies. And she's trying to struggle, like, is this guy good for me? Like, am I good for this guy? Am I going to be able to handle this? This guy might be a little too good for me. He might be a little, you kind of get the sense that she thinks he's a little too good for her. And the conflict is her accepting that, like, this love is for her, him trying to get her to convince her. It's really solid. The CEO of Luthor Corp, Lex Luthor. 2025 was the year of the hater, yo. I mean, maybe that was last year too. But we've gotten a lot of good haters these last couple of years. If you want to put Kendrick Lamar into the body of a supervillain, it is Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor hates the way that Superman walks, the way Superman talks, the way Superman dresses. He just dislikes everything Superman. And I'm here for it. He's willing to destroy his own building, his own company's building, to make sure that that blue alien does not get one over him. And that man gets his just desserts. Hulk is a fun, narcissistic, evil villain. And I love that he's in Peacemaker. I love that he has a little bit in Peacemaker too. Some of the other little tidbits, little other characters, Michael Holtz, he comes back and he plays Mr. Terrific. He's known as this like super intelligent, super genius. Mr. Terrific in the DC Comics is I argue that he is the smartest man in the universe, but the smartest man in the universe doesn't want everyone to know that he is the smartest man in the universe. So, but he plays really good in this game, in this movie. He plays really good in this movie. I don't like how all the subtext about him is kind of like in interviews, but I hope that he gets either like a tidbit, like his backstory gets explored in another movie. They give him a miniseries. I really want to see more Mr. Terrific. Pair him with Batman. I really would like to see Michael Holt paired with a Batman. You get a little bit of Anthony Cardigan as Rex Mason, Metamorphos, a part arc, a homunculi who can convert his body to any type of material. He's played as a sympathetic villain in this. And Metamorpho is just one of those characters that, like, if you watch the cartoon series, he's a really good, fun guy, and I think they portrayed him really well in this. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. Being our first live-action Green Lantern in a really long time, and being kind of like an underrated Green Lantern and Guy Gardner, I really do I like Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion has played a lot of DC characters, so I was kind of scared like he wasn't going to be able to stand out. But he has that stupid bowl cut. He looks like he got hit by a truck like in the comics, and he's just a jerky, pompous narcissist every minute on screen, and I am here for it. I really hope that they throw him into Lanterns. Lanterns does look like it's going to be more of a serious show, but no, throw him in Lanterns. Let him be that quirky jerk in Lanterns while John and Hal are trying to be serious and brooding. Let Guy just be doing tricks and stuff. And then actually a little underrated hit is Isabella Marcid as Hawkgirl, Kendra Saunders. She was kind of like a 2D character kind of in this movie, but you do kind of see that she's going through something. I see, like, I don't know what they're gonna do with her, because Hawkgirl is always such a random character in the DC universe. But if they do a certain plot from Justice League Unlimited, it kind of makes sense why she's trying to climb the role, the kind of hypes up in the roles in the superhero community. But she's a fun on the scene. She's kind of a little more deadlier, and she does, like, they do say they're gonna explore her characters more. because of some actions in this movie. I do kind of want to talk about one other super standout character in this movie, and we're talking about Skylar Ginson as Jimmy Olsen. This was actually something that I needed done right, and I didn't know how much I needed Jimmy Olsen to be done right. Jimmy Olsen should feel like a normal guy who gets his head into more than he can handle, no matter what the situation is. And that's what Skylar does with this role. Jimmy Olsen is just a photographer. He's Lois Lane right-hand man, and you kind of see that Jimmy Olsen is a normal guy who has a very interesting life, and it just keeps getting more interesting as it goes along. A big plot point is a little bit about Jimmy's past and how he can get with a certain baddie in this movie, and it kind of says that Jimmy kind of has this superpower of being able to charm anyone, being able to be the it guy. And if you know anything about DC Universe, that's Jimmy Olsen. He's just a normal guy who keeps finding himself in extraordinary situations. And they do set up that really well in this film. Talking a little bit about the visuals, some of the suits, I'm gonna be honest with you, this suit was one of the best suits on screen. It's not that overly designed Marvel mess that we've been so accustomed to. It's nice, it's bold, it has texture to it. That's one big thing that a lot of these suits has texture to them. And it looks good no matter where you're at. When he's flying through the air, that cape flies in the background and it's so natural. I love seeing this suit. Always gives David a cape. I love it. The CGI is awesome in this film. A character I didn't really talk too much about was the engineer, which is one of Lex Luthor's lackeys. But even the CGI on her suit, the visuals on her suits are amazing. She does this thing where she does a backflip and a handstand, and then you see her face digitized to the top of her body. It's really freaking cool. And then the Raptor suits, Lex Luthor's Raptor suits are a really good visual storytelling device. They are kind of the precursor, spoiler alert a little bit, fast forward 10 seconds if you don't want to hear it. They're a little bit of a precursor to Lex Luthor's power suit. Sure, Lex Luthor is going to make some suits for some soldiers, but when he wants to get dirty, he's probably going to soup up those suits. The themes are amazing. The idea that you are the good that you are what you are your actions. You are your actions and no one else can tell you otherwise. The things that you do are just your own. It doesn't matter what your parents want you to do. It doesn't matter what expectations your parents have on you. You are in charge of your own destiny. Kindness is punk rock. I'm gonna be honest with you, as we get deeper and deeper into this cynical world, a world where people, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm a little not to put too much real world into this, but as we're getting into a world where people are lying to gain power, people are becoming more and more cynical about the world around them, and kindness seems to be depleted. Just even the simple opening the door for someone. This movie really reminds you that kindness is the new punk rock these days, and I'm happy to say that. Being nice to strangers in the store, making sure that you are being nice and not being just the fact that you're just putting more good out in the world than you're taking it is just a real true theme of Superman. The world is getting more cynical day by day. If you keep up with world politics, you know that to be very, very true, no matter what side of the aisle that you're on. But the real cure to all this cynicalness in this world, the real cure to all this craziness is kindness. Sitting down, talking to one another, listening, doing good acts, doing good work, wanting to be charitable. That's what's really going to heal this world. Not more guys with a podcast mic, more guys complaining on the internet. It's talking about the light in the world, talking about the goodness in the world. And I'm happy that this movie reminded us in a time where this world couldn't be even more kooky. This movie doesn't have a lot of flaws to it. If you don't know Superman, which is kind of a rare thing these days, you might be a little lost because this just throws you in the middle of it. But I really do think that we might be getting more of Krypton's origin story in Supergirl. I think that's why there's not a lot of it in here. because that origin story is way more important than Supergirl and what Supergirl goes through as a character than Clark himself. But this movie does just throw you in the middle of it, and it makes you really have to sit and live in this wacky, goofy DC world. And it's cool. The strengths, fun, visually colorful, good storyline. The songs are popping, and it keeps you intrigued every single scene. Every scene is important. There's no filler, no fluff. Every scene has a character moment that builds either into the themes or the narrative of the story. And I think that's really good for superhero movies these days. And this is the spoiler talk. We're going to talk a little bit of spoilers. I'm going to talk about a little bit of hopes, hopes and dreams. So if you don't want to be spoiled for the movie, I can just be doing spoilers. Crazy. I could be saying spoilers anytime right now. But right now we're just going to yap about the movie a little bit, what I liked about it, some of his inspirations. And then we're gonna kind of wrap it up. So yeah, Superman, really good movie. Let me kind of go back to my little notes and about it. Yeah, I pretty much said everything I wanted to say about the characters as I could. Speaking about characters that are not directly in this movie that do kind of influence this movie. Blue Beetle's still attached to this movie. Supergirl, Krypto is not Clark's dog in this movie. It's Supergirl's. It's Kara's dog. The dog she had on Krypton. And I do like how this movie kind of like plays around with the idea of like Krypto not being a very good dog, because honestly, he's a trauma dog for Supergirl. And Supergirl's cameo is just perfect in here too. Her hints about what she's doing and why that has to do with Krypton's destruction is played out really nicely. Maxwell Lord pops up in this. And if you guys know anything about Maxwell Lord, he's a very big player in the DC universe. A really big Wonder Woman villain first and then a Justice League villain. So I'm really happy about where that story might pop up. I do see this Superman being able to play very well with a Batman. I am of the camp of just let Robert Pattinson play Batman in both franchises and just make him act differently in James Gunn's Batman movies. But like, he's just fun, and he has a sense of naivete to the way he views this world. Like the kaiju scene, he doesn't want to hurt the kaiju. He doesn't want to kill the kaiju. He's trying to find the best way of dealing with this situation without harming the monster. And that's a really good character moment for Clark, showing him that like a Superman who does not want to hurt. I think that's what makes this Superman a little bit better than Henry Cavill's Superman. That there's active moments of him trying to preserve life. There's a really good scene where like there's a squirrel on the ground. It's the same kaiju scene where there's a squirrel on the ground and he swoops in and picks up the squirrel because even the squirrel's life matters. The message from his parents is corrupted. I kind of have an idea that might be a plot point for a future for the next movie. Spoiler alert for Superman 2. I think that the corrupted message was more of a part for a Krypton AI. If that AI ends up becoming Brainiac, if Brainiac ends up becoming a version of Cyborg Superman pops up. I like how that is it's just such a minute detail that if you don't know anything about Superman, it's a good character. It's like a good plot point in general. But if you know a little bit about Superman mythos, a lot of the plot points in this movie really leads into like sequel bait, and sequel bait done right. Not just, and I'm gonna actually talk a little about Marvel real quick. It's not sequel bait in the sense that, hey, at the tail end of our story, I'm gonna tell you the next part of the next story. It's that like, hey, we're now like Superman has finally in the context of Superman and just generally this movie, we're 3 years deep into this Superman's career. He's done all the rookie stuff already. So it's now time to see this Superman interact with the world. And not everything is going to happen sequentially. If this part is a Brainiac plot point, it's set up in a way where it's from the first movie. If we get anything else from like maybe Superman 3, Justice League, there's enough tidbits in this where we can kind of pull from. And I think that's where James Gunn really excels at. Writing a deep, complicated narrative for a franchise without having to just go plot point, cliffhanger. He does a little bit in Guardians of the Galaxy where he does it in Guardians of the Galaxy to like the end of number 1. Why is Peter able to hold the Power Stone for as long as he can. Oh, because his lineage dives into Celestials. Why is Rocket such a little throughout all the movies? Oh, because he's been extremely traumatized as a lab animal. James Gunn really good at laying his narratives to pull out story beats for future movies. And that's why I feel like he's gonna do good for these movies. Like, he's just gonna do good. But that is gonna be the tail end to our spoiler reviews.